Hello and welcome back to the BacktotheFeature podcast. Today we're doing a very different episode than anything I think that we've ever done. I guess you could probably call it more of a rant than anything.
Sure,
we're
yeah,
going to kind of loosely talk about something that we've definitely thought about a lot in the current movie landscape, especially when it comes to critics and critiquing film. And I think that, and really audience expectations and audiences critiquing films and the way that they kind of view the movies that they see, and that some of the criticisms that they levy against movies that maybe really aren't quite warranted.
Yeah, they don't quite deserve it.
Yeah, and then we also really want to take the opportunity today. We want to talk about clickbait controversies and trying to kind of, I think, talk just a little bit about being wary about where you're getting all your movie news and being wary about what some of the critics might be saying, and if what they're saying really has to do with the movie or really just trying to get you to click on their articles and read what they have to say, good or bad. So, John, obviously, this is something that we see a lot on message boards. What are some of your thoughts? I mean, just on the general topics that I just started bringing up.
Well, you know my thoughts, Giovanni.
They don't.
I gotta weigh it carefully here. I have a strong opinion with this because I see so many of these articles coming out, and I just don't think that some of these movies they're not intentionally doing these things. Like, for example, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Do you want to jump into that one?
Yeah, I think that was a good recent example of an article that we saw posted about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 concerning Mantis and her role in the film and the way that her character was portrayed, and specifically to the way that Asian Americans were portrayed in Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, in the article, I mean, the thing that really immediately made me really wary when I was reading the article was they said that, Guardians 2 is a retread of the first. And that was, to me, already a big warning sign.
That's a red flag, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not a retread. So, I mean, yeah. Do you have more to say on that? What you were going? But yeah, no, with just her being, misrepresented as an Asian stereotype. Yeah,
and I mean, they're talking about specifically the stereotype because she is in the service of Ego, and she, apparently he picked her up as an orphan from her homeworld, or who knows with Ego, because does turn out, spoiler warning, so you guys have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy, 3, 2, 1, spoilers, Ego is obviously the villain of, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, so she has been like this, like I said, an orphan. Who knows how Ego obtained her, but he uses her empathic abilities to fall asleep. He uses her like some sort of living Ambien. And a lot of people kind of felt like that the movie was trying to represent Asian women as being subservient to, American men, white men, or just men in general. And I really, watching the movie, it really does not feel like the movie is pushing this agenda of subservient, female Asian characters. And the big thing in his article that he was trying to attack was that she only does something because a man, Drax, that basically defines her role, and basically makes her. He's the one that pushes her to say anything about Ego. Where
it's
when you watch the film, it really is the opposite. You see her build trust
she connects
with him, and she connects with him. And I think, too, it's also implied in the film quite heavily that she is not really ever in contact with anybody. I mean, possibly, to this point with her, anybody that's been able to remain alive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because God knows, I mean, if these people showed up with a group like the Guardians, you know what I mean? She's got these intergalactic superheroes on her doorstep, and she decides after being able to connect with Drax and trust Drax that enough is enough. And she also sees, too, that Peter has that power, and that, if this happens, that Ego is going to destroy the world. She chooses to trust Drax and tell Drax everything. I don't find that is Drax defining her actions. I find that's her actually being proactive.
Yeah.
She's not a reactive, a stagnant part of that decision making. And I think that to do that is really, to me, you're undercutting that character. You're putting them in that position where you're saying that their motivation and their proactivity in that situation meant nothing to you. I think. Really,
and that's a projection of your own feelings and thoughts and whatever's like residing deep down inside of you. I feel like, it's just an example of cynicism. And I really want to touch on that during this podcast.
Yeah, I think that's
kind of critique versus being cynical.
I think that's the big thing we want to talk about. I think is really if audiences are really becoming too cynical. I think that and I think that social media obviously is going to be a huge influence on how we talk about movies.
It doesn't matter what it is either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen people being just cynical in every aspect of life, whether it's anything, doctors, medicine, modern medicine, and
do you think that it has to do with? I mean, in the sense of American culture.
I think it's just the excess of news and media that we get now, and a lot of it is like these, especially like media, just normal media in our country pushes a lot of stuff that's. How many facts do we really need now? Because what we want is money.
And I think you're touching on a really great thing is that there's so many outlets now. There's so many places outlets. People are getting news.
And they're all racing.
And not all of them, as you said, are reliable. You see a lot of people getting their news from multiple sites, news sources, and some of which aren't always credible. I mean, anybody nowadays can just go on the internet and find a site that says IamRight.com. And go to that site and only look within that small purview. And I think that when you have things like, especially like Facebook walls, Twitter feeds, this is this very small, consumable kind of news, and not all of it, none of this gets fact checked. None of this gets vetted by anybody before it's being able to be given to the masses. Everybody now has a soapbox from which to stand. I mean, us included. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And, I think that a lot of people... some people really do try to have a good message. I think that we try to try to come from a place of good...
Center.
And I think quality over just trying to find things to be controversial.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think the issue is that... It isn't so much about, hey, are these facts real? Are these facts true? It's what can these words garner for our site, for our channel, and not really caring about the quality of the information that you're putting onto the internet.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like we're not sitting here trying to be right and
no, I don't think
that.
it's
I think it's really
high
just
horse thing.
Yeah, no, it's not a high horse thing. I'm a humble person. I want to be.
Spoken like a true humble person.
I want to be humble.
Yes, I am incredibly humble.
I'm the most humble person in the galaxy. No, yeah, no.
You sound like Drax and Ego.
But it's just looking at everything objectively. You really want to be centered. You want to get every side's opinion, and just kind of balance it out and just try to be the voice of reason, I think, in a world full of chaos.
It sounds so dramatic when you say it like that. I think that it's definitely something that has become a bigger and bigger issue. I think as the years have gone on and social media has become a bigger part of everybody's life. And I think that, you see it, newspapers barely exist anymore. People don't watch the TV to get their news. And not that any of those sources can't be tainted, but at the same time, there isn't any kind of unifying...
Anyone can put an article out online.
Exactly.
Anybody. Anyone. And whatever their opinion is, they're... And these people, they're searching these, I don't even know. There's so much different stuff. But I think that article about Mantis is really just, I don't know what that guy was on.
I think that's to me, reading it, I'm like, this is a prime example of, I think what we're all afraid of, what a lot of our information that we're getting is that it is stuff that is being just twisted to get reactions and not really, like I said before, trying to make any of this information.
Yeah, because when I see something like that, I want to just I just want to throw it in the garbage can. And not because I don't care about the actual issues, like the actual issues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is not an actual issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like that particular subject, no. And you can't, and you see it get 300,000 likes and clicks and reshares, and people, it's getting that reaction out of people. So
the thing that I find to be interesting, I think that the part for me that's troubling is that what this does then, though, for a lot of people, is that it also colors the way that they go in and view the film. Now, not everybody's going to be influenced by what other people say, but some people actually do listen to people who are critics or people like us who are more amateurs at this point, that their opinions do hold sway. And that what you're, what you're saying is actually, true for these people.
There's weight behind it.
Yeah. We talk about all the time, and I see people talk all the time about objectivity and subjectivity. And I think that when you're trying to critique a film for other people, you need to try to be as objective as possible. You are not going to like everything that your audience likes. I mean, they are going for your opinion, yes. But I think that you need to make note of those places where you are being maybe biased or more subjective. But a good film can be a good film. It doesn't have to be your favorite film for it to be a good film. And I think that that's a problem, I think, with some people, is you see where they'll give something 10 out of 10, or they give it 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I didn't like it, so I gave it a 1.
Or sometimes I feel like I didn't love it. Very few things in your life are going to be your favorite thing. That's why, by nature, they're your favorite things.
Yep.
You will, sorry to say it, maybe this sounds pessimistic.
It's my favorite thing.
Possibly sounds cynical, me saying this, but more things, there's going to be a lot less things in your life that are truly, truly great and satisfying. And there's going to be a lot more things that are probably falling more on the negative side and maybe aren't completely satisfying, because life just doesn't work like that,
Yeah.
And I think that that's what makes those things happiness special, is because it's not something that I think that like true contentment, you don't get that all the time, and that's why those moments are important.
I think it's interesting. It was kind of a post I was reading through, a thread, and it was talking about movie remakes and like how movie remakes or remakes of film aren't always that good. And I was like, but if you weigh it up against like reality, like there probably is like the same amount on average, just as good, based on the average. Like, I mean, if you look at a movie, like how many good movies came out last year? Like, I mean, like truly great films came out last year. 25, 30. I mean, I'm talking about like great, maybe not even that many. 15, 14.
I mean, if you're talking about like truly great, stand up,
like stand up, test of time, maybe 3, 4.
Yeah, I think every year you're gonna get 3 or 4 like landmark films. And I mean, that's generous.
And that's out of what 10,000. I mean, there's tons of movies that you don't even see. They don't even hit the theaters. Whatever else. A lot of indie. Especially now. Yep. So I mean, if you're really talking about, and people's like, oh, no remakes are ever good, and it's just a cynical attitude, because there's less of them, and there are a lot of good movie remakes. So it's just like if you're weighing it against the average.
Well, and I think that a lot of these people don't really understand that it's like, Hollywood does this all the time. I mean, the people, the Ben-Hur, the people think is the original Ben-Hur is a remake. Scarface is a remake. Like, people don't even know that. The Thing is a remake of a film that they didn't know because they weren't born in that time. And that's, I mean, I think that the cycle time has become shorter. Yeah. I will definitely say that.
Oh, yeah.
Where the cycle time has become shorter. And where I think more people remember the ones before it. I mean, some of them have been way too quick. Like, the Spider-Man movies is a prime example of, like, that turnover being way too quick. Yeah. Where the audience hasn't had time to settle or like kind of retire the character in their mind. Batman is another example. But it's funny though, when Batman was doing it, no one quite cared yet.
Yeah.
Like they did. But maybe it's because we didn't have the internet. And I think that's what people also forget. It's like, like I said earlier, everybody has a soapbox to be able to speak from. We've never had that before. Like people always talk about how like negative their worldview seems, but it's, you didn't used to be able to see that there was like thousands of people that just disagreed with you completely.
Yeah.
Like they're just the complete opposite of you, morally,
and you have
physically, mentally, everything.
Yeah, and you have the capability to sit there at your house and argue with those people online. Yeah, I mean, just freely. I'll never see this person in my life, so I can say whatever I want.
See, like, for me, I really always like to embrace differences. I think that everybody's going to view a movie differently, and I love the idea that, like, there is a movie for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that
yeah,
somebody's
totally.
going to love that not everybody's going to get. You know, and be like, that movie's awful. And it's like, you know, but that movie really speaks to me because, you know, we're the sum of all the things that have happened before, you know, and where we want to go next. And I think that, like, so much of ourselves are wrapped up in films. It's a very emotional experience. I mean, most films, I think, so the best films especially, have emotional heartbeats and have things that resonate with us. And I think for something to resonate with you, you need to have some sort of experience with it. So I think when some people say that, oh, that movie was bad because this thing didn't resonate with me, it's like, well, maybe it's because you didn't quite have that experience. And like I said earlier, you know, talking about objectivity and subjectivity, when you're trying to critique for other people, you have to account for that. Like somebody,
I like doing it in my personal life, though, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think technical achievements warrant, you know, good scores or a good rating, or that's, to me, a lot of technical things is what makes a good movie a good movie.
Yeah,
and then the cherry on top is if it resonates with me as well.
Yeah, I think that not a lot of these people, a lot of like amateur critics, quite know the actual work that's involved to be able to do any of these things and put these things together. How large these teams are of people that are all working on this singular goal, and for any movie to come out the way that it does. Like I said, I mean, there's a great examples of, you know, movies that are technically so well made, but maybe are missing something in the story or the characters, and people absolutely hate that movie and be like, oh, it's a 1-star movie. But you're like, how can it be 1 star? Like, looking at all of these extremely difficult technical achievements that this movie is able to achieve.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's one of the most frustrating things. And I know that everyone has their own opinion. And at the end of the day, all you can do is sit by and watch it happen, you know. And, you know, you try to be the voice of reason here and there or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just like, I like weighing everything. You know, it's like, well, that movie had bad editing. Well, I'll dock it something. But, you know, its musical score was really, really good. So I'm going to kind of take that score back and just kind of even it out. And that's how I critique movies. I just kind of look at each individual aspect of the film and go from there.
Yeah, because
if a movie has a plot hole but everything else is super good, I mean, it's like I can forgive that plot hole. Well, maybe not forgive it. You know, in my mind, I still docked it for that. But you know, I don't want to be cynical. I just want to critique a film as objectively as possible, and that includes, you know, movies with controversy behind them. I'm not gonna rate my movie. I'm not gonna critique my movie based on a controversy that exists outside of that film.
Yeah, I think that, like, when we went to do our Ghost in the Shell review, you know, we wanted to make just a really big point of just trying to critique the film on its own and not trying to critique the politics around it.
Yeah,
and I think that a lot of people separate that, where they go, and then it sucks because I think with Ghost in the Shell is a really great example, though, in a lot of ways, because of, like I said, the controversy gets painted, but then, like, you watch the movie and you get toward that third act where they actually, like, try to address it, and to me it felt so reactionary to, like, oh, we're gonna try to double back on this thing and try to explain it and, you know, save face, and I think they made it worse because they tried to double back on what they were doing, and instead of just sort of trying to just tell the story. You know, there's one that I think about right now quite a bit is right now that Netflix is doing a Death Note remake, and I know a lot of
you were
people
telling me this before.
Are really frustrated because they're like, well, you know, Death Note, it's supposed to take place in Japan. These characters are supposed to be Japanese. You know, they got this white guy playing him, and you know, how does that work? They're whitewashing this thing, and you look, and they have made 7 Japanese films already. They've made 7 Japanese live-action films already. Like, this is them making an Americanized version. And it's really, like, it's the fact that the people that are getting up in arms about this aren't actually looking and researching any of this. They're just
riding the
reacting.
Ride the bandwagon. But this is the thing, too, I brought up, too, you know, like, Infernal Affairs is a Chinese movie. And Martin Scorsese decided to remake it, and he made one of the greatest American crime movies I think of all
It's
time.
the greatest Irish mob movie ever.
Yeah, hands down. But there was no complaints about him not casting all Chinese people in that movie. It's just that's the similar thing. It's a similar thing. He made it set in Boston, and he made it a movie based around the Irish mob. That's just what happens in Hollywood. And I think, if you're overly cynical in that way, why didn't anyone jump on Scorsese for that? Why is it such a popular thing now? I just find it really interesting because I like to see consistency as well. I don't like seeing a lot of this inconsistency. There's another example too. What was it? I know we were talking about Akira too, but I think we were talking about like the possibility of Akira remake. But I mean, what if they did it in the way that like The Departed did Infernal Affairs?
Yeah,
like,
would there be a controversy surrounding that?
There already is a controversy surrounding. They're like, how could you do this? You have to have all Japanese actors and all this stuff. It's like, but there are movies where they take the concept, they take the story, and they make it with new people. I don't think it's being racist. I don't think there needs to be a controversy there. They just want to make a movie. Infernal Affairs exists. It's a great movie. Go watch it.
Yeah, I think that if you're really telling the story, and I think though, and you're saying that the word consistency, I think that's important though in this situation from the other side, that like it needs to all be consistent. Like they do Akira and they reset it, like it's set in America, and there's African Americans in the cast, there's white people in the cast, you know what I mean? They're a diverse group or a more American looking group. I don't think that would be wrong. If you were actually like setting it in Japan, and his name is Kaneda, and he's played by like Garrett Hedlund.
Yeah,
there's an issue there. Like that.
Yeah,
okay, that is whitewashing. Like Gods of Egypt, that's whitewashing. Where if you're actually resetting it and remaking it, like the Old Boy remake, that's not whitewashing. He sets it in the United States. He changes.
Yeah, where was was there controversy out of that one?
No, there wasn't. But I think that at the same time, I think right now people are a lot more sensitive than they've ever been about that. But I think that has a lot to do with what's going on in politics and what's going on socially in our country right now.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we want Hollywood to represent. It's like they want them to push forward and be that change. But I think that like going about it the way that we are is hurting Hollywood. It's hurting these films.
Yeah.
It's hurting potentially good films in the process. And that's really what we don't want to see. That we want to see these movies do well, and we get more adaptations. We get more of that then.
Yeah, and I think that like I was saying earlier, like stirring up these controversies, it changes how an audience thinks about a movie before they even go in. For me, I always try to just watch the film and see what the film presents me, and not trying to go in there and trying to make the movie fit my rhetoric. I think that's what happens to a lot of audience members, is that they hear that, Ghost in the Shell has got this controversy around it, and they delve even deeper trying to make it fit that narrative, and not trying to actually find the evidence there. Now, I think that there's definitely some, like I said, I think when they try to explain it, they do it poorly. There was a way to have done that interesting. It's, what I mean? You could have it that someone of another race is stuck in the wrong body. You know what I mean? Like, you could actually address that in a way that could be intriguing and actually not whitewashing or not trying to apologize. You know what I mean? It being part of another way that the character was violated. And that's what they tried to do, but they didn't pull it off correctly. And I think that the execution was poor.
Yeah, but there was so much controversy around Ghost in the Shell, too. I mean, which is kind of sad, too, because, yes, Scarlett Johansson, the major, yes, sure, okay, she was whitewashed. But there was also, Takeshi Kitano, the captain or whatever, in the movie, he's such a good actor, and it's like, well, now he's not going to be seen by any American audiences. It's like, well... because no one went out and saw the movie. I mean, it's like, give some of these people a chance, but if whatever, it's just one of those things. That personally bothers me.
Another recent one I think that's similar is there was armpit gate surrounding Wonder Woman.
Oh gosh!
Honestly, a lot of the controversy surrounding Wonder Woman I find to be quite odd. it's like everybody wants to support this movie, but by rallying against Warner Brothers not doing enough and Warner Brothers, making her shave her armpits or whatever the narrative is supposed to be there. There was a lot of controversy because there's that shot where she goes to throw that truck. Is what it looks like with the way it's cut in the trailer. Maybe she throws something else. I don't know yet. I can't wait to see Wonder Woman and see what it is that she throws with her cleanly shaven armpits. And a lot of people were really bothered by that. That she's a feminist icon. She should have a full mane of long armpit hair. And it's like I would not judge her for having it, but I'm not going to judge her for not. I feel like that's maybe Gal Gadot likes to shave her armpits, and I feel like that's her choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're talking about women's rights and what they choose to do with their bodies and whatever else. What other controversies could be talked about there? But yeah, she shaves her armpits. Okay.
Well, yeah, I really hate that they do that. Where they shame women for making making those kinds of choices. That if they're not making the more progressive choice, then they're shamed for that. But it's like they should be able to make any choices that they want. If they want to be a mother, you know what I mean? If they want to have that nuclear family, if you all want to have that. It's your choice to have it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people should be shamed for choosing something conventional or shamed for choosing something unconventional. I think people should stop trying to shame everybody for their choices or beliefs or, the things that they like or dislike. I think a lot of people, they want to, they all stand up on their soapbox, like we said earlier, and say their opinion, but they definitely want the gratification, too.
Yeah, yeah.
They want the feeling of being better or superior. For me, and I know for you, it's I just like sharing my opinion on movies. I really don't think that my opinion is gospel.
Yeah.
When I say things,
I struggle with it sometimes.
Yeah.
We all do, right? We're all human.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, for me, I love, like I said, I love hearing people tell me that some movie that I don't love is their favorite movie.
Oh yeah, diversity.
I love hearing that kind of diversity, and I love that idea that there is a movie out there for everybody.
Yeah, it's so unique. Yeah, I mean, you get to know somebody by what things weigh into them emotionally. I think it's a really unique way to connect with people, and art, I mean, in all honesty, art is subjective too. So I mean, the finished product is gonna
your enjoyment of it is subjective.
Your enjoyment of it is subjective.
Yeah, I think that when people sit there and talk about what something is or isn't, though, that isn't something that you can be subjective about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's raining really, really bad where we're at right now, and subjectively to me, it's a sunny day.
Yeah, but that's my opinion. You got to deal with it.
Yep.
It's dude.
I mean, maybe some of these opinions aren't quite as opposite as it's raining or if the sun is out. But I mean, there's some stuff, a little dramatic overkill.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've seen some stuff that
we're just what? Gave Alien a 3 out of 10. Just get off the internet.
Quit.
Go home.
Just quit.
Go home.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that, and it's okay for them to say that they enjoyed it a 3 out of 10. But I think that's when you write your review. You should say that.
There's some stuff there's stuff like that though where that's the type of stuff I tune out of though.
Yeah.
It's just obviously he's wrong.
Well, I'm trying to think of an example from my own end where maybe it's a movie that is well crafted, but I'm not really a big.
I've always said for me The Master is a perfect example.
Oh, there you go. Thanks.
I think
Good one.
I think The Master is technically crafted brilliance.
Yes, so well shot.
But it's not a film that will ever resonate with me. I don't know why. It's about religion and stuff and cults and if you know my upbringing, it's it's close home. But I just can't. I don't know. I like Paul Thomas Anderson too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, There Will Be Blood, I think, is one of the objectively perfect film, one of the few that exists in the world.
Yeah.
But The Master just never did it. Cinematography, the music, the acting, everything is just amazing in that movie.
I'll admit something. I'd say in general, I mean, his career, I feel that same way kind of about a lot of his movies. Even There Will Be Blood. that I don't think it's a movie I'd ever catch you never catch me rewatching that movie.
Oh man.
I think it's a really great, like, it's a well-made movie.
You didn't like Inherent Vice that much either.
No. And anybody who knows me, I should have loved the shit out of that. And I was
surprised too, yeah. Well, it is another movie that I thought was technically great, but it just, it's like the pacing that he chooses.
Yeah.
To use. And I think a lot of people would agree with, if anyone has critiques on Paul Thomas Anderson, that's definitely one of them. It's one of the few that you can actually, it's one of the few.
I'd say his pacing makes me enjoy his movies less.
Yeah, and it's not I don't think it's a flaw.
No, I think it's.
I don't think it's a flaw. I don't think it's a filmmaking flaw of his.
And
it's just my subjective taste.
You're going down a little alley that I like here, and it's the thing of the fact that, like, with art, an artist has intent. An artist does have intent about how they wish what they want their film to mean, and for what its intended purpose is. You see that all the time, where, like, the director will literally come out and say, this is what I wanted this movie to be about. And you'll literally hear people say, like, it's not about that. I watched it, and I think it's about this. It's like, no. The person who created and crafted it, this is what they're going for. I think The Babadook's a great example, where people are like,
oh, gosh,
that wasn't enough jump scares, or it wasn't scary enough. And it's like, it's actually a story about grief. It's what the whole thing is about. And if you actually you hear Jennifer Kent talk about the movie, that is what it's about. That's the intent of it. And if you watch it again knowing that, you'll actually see it. But there's people who refuse to look at it like that. And I think it sucks. I really hate that, because they're making what the studios want Hollywood to be. And people complain about how movies have no artistic integrity, but then whenever they do, you guys try to shoot them down. You guys try to tell me that, a movie shouldn't be art. Like, I grew up in a household where we went to museums, we went to the opera, we went to these places and stuff when I actually lived in a bigger city. And I was taught how to view art objectively. You know what I mean? And how you critique it. And for me, all mediums are the same. Like, I look at a piece of art, and I look at a comic book, and I watch a movie, and I watch music, and they all kind of go through the same sort of scrutiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all have different qualities because they're different mediums, but I don't think that one has less artistic integrity, or at least is not capable of the same amount of artistic integrity as any other media. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
The greatest comic book can be as great as the greatest novel. The greatest film can have as much to say as the greatest novel and the greatest comic book and the what have you. I think that we need to stop having kind of that medium prejudice where it's like, well, it's a movie. Well, it's a movie, so it's whatever. Like, people always talk about, well, it was great for a comic book movie. It's like, shut up. I hate that. Because you're already saying that it's like, well, yes, like, a lot of it is in this pulp
category.
But, like, to sit there and say that something like Watchmen is just a comic book, or that The Dark Knight Returns is just a comic book,
Oh, I know. It's
like V for Vendetta is just a comic book, or that, like, oh, it's one of those comic book movies.
It's Alan Moore.
Yeah, or I could say Grant Morrison stuff too. I got some of that. Like, we'll never see a Flex Mentallo movie. But, like,
so I wasn't raised that way. I didn't go to opera and art and whatever else. But I was raised to look at
all that fancy schmancy liberal snowflake shit.
But I was raised to just look at everything objectively. I mean, you can't walk down the street or like go into a busy place and just be this subjective piece of shit. I think there's so much diversity, and I think that like how people are raised and cultural differences in people and like you got to avoid biases and like that person talks different than me, so I'm gonna not like them. That's just a terrible way to think, and that's what a lot of people think like in our society, and it's sad.
Ignorance is prevalent.
Ignorance is prevalent, and it's. I was just raised the opposite, and I think it just translates into how I view everything, how I listen to music, how I watch my movies, how I read my books, or whatever else.
See, I think though, like, and you're kind of touching on something is that I think a lot of it does have to do with ego. I think a lot of it has to do with I'm right culture, wanting the right answer over actually like what you actually think or feel about something. I think we see that a lot where I think, everybody wants to just feel like they're right and they're completely right, so they'll ignore other outside evidence to whatever it is that they want that thing to be. And
Too
what
much
they want
talking,
that
not
to
enough
mean.
listening.
Like I already said earlier, when I say my opinion about movies, I don't think that my opinion is gospel. I know that I am just one person who has seen and learned and experienced those things, and when I viewed this, that's what I thought about it.
Yeah.
And I don't sit there and think that, look how great I am for having that opinion.
Yeah, no.
It isn't something that it's just the way that I feel about it. I love sharing it. I love hearing people's differing opinions. And like I said, I love uniqueness. I love that difference.
Yeah.
Like I said, that to me, that's endlessly interesting. If we were all the same and all felt the same way about everything, I don't think that life would be nearly as entertaining as it is.
Totally not. I love culture. That just sounds funny. But no, sorry, I just needed a Pabst Blue Ribbon for a second there. But I just love the differences in people. I just love differing opinions But when you start seeing these extreme things, it's just I don't know. It just takes enjoyment out of everything, and just kind of I don't know.
Well, where like you said, you see people they want so they expect someone to like come up and be like, "You're right, you had the right answer. You're right. Your opinion is the opinion of that film. Thank you."
Yeah, wouldn't it be great to be that person?
Mm-hmm.
Just right all the time. It'd feel great, right?
Well, seeing that person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very, it's just a conceptual question. Like I said, I'm not, and people probably say I sound like an egomaniac for saying it, but I just don't think I'm that much of an egomaniac to sit there and try to say that, I thought that, this movie was a 1 out of 10, and that anybody who believes that is just wrong, It's, it's just my, it's just like your opinion, man.
Just like your opinion, dude.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about the Chris Pratt controversy too, and this is really.
Yeah.
I think this is where it hit
the second
home.
one.
The second one. But you knew more about it because you actually watched the.
Well, let's talk about the first one. We'll set the stage.
Okay, let's.
Because
I
honestly, it frustrated me more when the second one came up because of the first one, and so he basically said there wasn't enough movies about blue collar workers, and everybody kind of jumped on that because honestly, it's true. There's a lot of movies about blue collar workers. I mean, hell, even Braveheart is kind of about a pretty blue collar guy. Maybe in a non-traditional sense, but you know what I'm saying. About the little man rising up.
It's definitely context, though.
Definitely in context, yeah. And I think that, and okay, so then Chris Pratt released a statement basically saying, hey, that was stupid of me to say. Just sort of owning his mistake and being a much more mature person than the internet is ever used to seeing.
I think he had a thought in his head, and this is what a lot of people do. You have it, you're thinking something, and then when you say it, it just, that's not actually what I meant.
Yeah,
it just kind of came out wrong. I mean, like,
just kind of undercooked it even.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many you could say how many blue collar movies are made by actual blue collar directors. Yeah, like how? I mean, maybe that's what he meant. I don't know, but is that wrong of me to say? I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
But the so he already had that. Like I said, he handled it way more maturely than the internet knows how to deal with, and honestly, like hearing that just made me like him so much more. That he was actually that humble to just go, "Hey, I made a mistake."
Yeah. And
I think the too many people are afraid to say, "Hey, made a mistake."
Yeah, I'm wrong.
So then the second one came up, and it was for like an advertisement for Guardians 2, and in it he's like, "Hey, turn up the volume on this. Like, don't read the subtitles or whatever." Come in, click interact with this video. He's just doing his job, being enthusiastic, trying to sell this clip. Well, a lot of people took that as that he was trying to alienate, the deaf viewers who couldn't hear and needed the subtitles on the video. Where it's really, I mean, it's pretty obvious that's not what Chris Pratt meant.
That's reaching to the farthest extent that you.
And now the sad thing is, though, is that he went ahead and apologized. And it's, again, he's just a much better person than a lot of us. And he made a video, in sign language for his deaf fans, apologizing to them for being that insensitive. And it's so silly because he wasn't being insensitive.
He shouldn't have had to do that. No, I think it's silly because, what is a movie? It's a...
Yeah, what about his blind fans?
Yeah, it's a visual medium, so should Hollywood just give out a huge apology every Oscar season to apologize to every blind person that can't watch their movies? I'm
sorry you couldn't see Moonlight this year because you're blind.
Yeah, honestly, though, if you're staying consistent, that's what you need to do. And the thing that bothers me, too, like, turn the volume up. Have you ever been to a high school rally?
Yeah.
I think everyone has been to a high school rally, and that's like the same garbage song that comes up in the same little theme of like,
Never heard a deaf person complain about that song. That may have been insensitive. I'm going to apologize in sign language on Twitter right away for saying that. But Jeez.
Got real dark in here for a second.
Oh.
I realized we're doing a podcast and there's not a single deaf person listening to this.
This is I may get lambasted in the comments for my insensitivity. But I think the thing is that you're finding is that you can make anything insensitive. You can find a group that is ostracized by everything, everything.
Everything, yeah.
And I think that the thing is that the people have learned, though, and this is what I really hate about watching what Chris Pratt did, is that every time, though, that studios and actors give into that, it is completely ruining, I think, the artistic integrity of those things.
Yeah.
I think some controversies, those battles need to be fought, and other ones are really, you're just feeding this frenzy.
I think you're giving the win to that idea, that fascism.
Now, John, you start throwing around the word fascism, especially in 2017, you have to be careful, John.
I know.
Because most people now are going to link you with Hitler. They haven't already. So they think Chris Pratt's probably linked to, he's the Hitler of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Everybody's the Hitler of everything now. So you do have to watch out, but talking about fascists these days.
Yeah, you do.
But yeah, I think that it's a very slippery slope, though, in that way where, like I said, I mean, when we're constantly, like I said, it's showing a lot of these groups that there is that clout that, like, anybody can just sort of drum up enough controversy and actually make people change and back down. And I think that, like I said, it makes people not want to take risks in movies. That's why you get giant studio projects like Suicide Squad. Because studios are so nervous now. Because, okay, everyone's going to get an uproar if we do this or do that. You see movies apologizing for things before they even hit.
We can't show Joker slapping Harley Quinn. Well, I mean, there was definitely
controversy about Batman punching her. I heard a lot of people like...
Because she's a psychotic murderer. He slaps he doesn't kill.
I think that doesn't she try to knife him? Or she does something at him, too.
Yeah, she does something at him. Well, either way, she's still a nasty villain. Joker, too. I mean, there's we can't show Joker having an abusive relationship with Harley Quinn because, I don't know, because he's a monster?
That's a whole other conversation that's going to get me really riled up if you talk about that Suicide Squad Joker-Harley relationship shit. I see it on my Facebook wall.
My friend
looking for a Joker and my Harley. It's like, you should not idolize that relationship.
But that's what caused that.
Yeah.
It's that type of culture, it's that type of controversy that caused the Suicide Squad. Whatever movie was there before was different.
Mm.
It was.
Yeah.
It
is causing, though, second, triple, quadruple guessing.
Yep.
On studios' parts. And making them back down from doing something unique. People want original, unique movies, but they get... Everything becomes a controversy whenever anybody tries to do anything differently.
It's sad, too, because that controversy is the minority. Like, the people that actually truly feel that way are a very small, I think, minority. Mm. But they start, perpetuating that, generating
Yeah.
that machine that is the internet.
Those clickbait type articles.
The clickbait type articles, and all these people just start kind of going with it. Not everybody. I'm not sitting here preaching, but
But no, I think that's exactly what we're talking about today, though, and what we've really kind of talked about is that, and why it's so important to be discerning about where you're getting information, and if you're letting that information and letting these articles that maybe don't care about the integrity, they don't even care about the movie they're writing about, but they're changing your view just to get clicks. They're doing that just so that you read their article. They want to get you riled up and pissed off, and I think that at the end of the day, I think that we have seen movies suffer from it. We see how they've suffered in their craft because of that, and we see how people receive them and think about them, I think, widely gets skewed. And I'm sure that everybody, I know there's going to be controversy there. I know everybody has free will, everybody has, your ideas are your own, but sometimes we don't even see how we're getting subconsciously turned by the atmosphere around us. So I think that, like I said, for me, that's the big thing from this podcast today, is that it's that trying to be discerning from where you're getting your information, and if the people that are giving you this information, does it sound like it's honest, or is it just getting you in the door so that they can get their end and get what they want? So guys, I hope that you enjoyed our little bit more of like a rant, something just kind of different. I know we're talking about movies, but a little extra on the side there. So guys, tell us what you think of this podcast in the comments. I'm sure there's a lot of things we said in this podcast that are going to be controversial. So let us know what you guys think in the comments. You can like and subscribe here on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter at BacktoFeature and on Facebook at /BacktoFeature. I'm Giovanni Carlo.
And I'm John Vanderloop.
And we'll see you guys next time.